Holy crap, guys. This is a reprint.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Wait a second. This says it's by Marwan Jamal.
So this article, you're talking about this article that we're reading, is actually a reprint of a 2011 article written by Hugo Schwyzer, who had an online breakdown and admitted that he slept with his feminist students, so the women, I assume. And yep, there it is. It's from the Good Men Project, which I know we can count on. Those guys are real. They really care about men at the Good Men Project.
When Hugo Schwyzer talks about dehumanization and objectification of women, he's talking about himself.
Apparently, what Marwan Jamal did was copy and paste it in here. So
I am not going to Schadenfreude for this. I just want to point out that this man should never have been in a position of articulating this stuff. From Social Jewish News. Married father of two and self-described male feminist who has had multiple articles published in national publications went off his medication and sent out more than 100 tweets in the span of an hour. There he blurted out shocking confessions, including having sex with students and porn stars, calling himself a fraud when it came to teacher gender studies because his doctorate is in British medieval history, and detailing his life of sexual promiscuity, substance abuse, and attempting to kill his then girlfriend and himself in 1998.
That escalated quickly.
The fallout was quick and epic. 2 months later, he would be arrested, charged, and convicted of felony driving under the with special circumstances of causing injury to another person. 8 years later, Schwyzer is now working at Trader Joe's. He's been with the company. Okay, don't.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll take any trouble that comes out of this if he comes. Come on now.
He's been with the company for 4.5 years. Fresh off his shift, the 24-year-old grabs a coffee from inside and pulls up a chair. He wants them to take down those articles that were written about how he's no longer that person, about how he deserves a second chance. His motivation, his children, whom he will cite multiple times throughout the interview. Schwyzer has a 12-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old his fourth ex-wife with whom he has joint custody. The impetus for speaking out now came from his daughter. Inevitably, she stumbled across what had been written about him. It was devastating for her, he says, adding to some of her school friends began teasing her. She asked, "Is there anything good written about you on the internet?" Dozens of well-meaning friends on his Facebook page praised his brave decision to try to have something good written about him, while others warned that to attempt to wade back into the media spotlight could backfire on offspring. Nevertheless, Schwyzer said the children's mother and his new say they have been together for 4.5 years, will marry later this year, approved of his... So he's on his 5th marriage. Approved of his decision and felt it was right when he regrets that his children or his daughter saw this and has a negative effect on him. The reason why this is hard to maintain neutrality is because listening to this guy bully young men is actually extremely painful. I don't think he regrets anything that he said to young men. It's sort of frightening that he is a 9-year-old boy. I will not recite a formula of contrition, which I do not believe. I do not believe it would make a difference if I did. In the modern era, even I've wept and gnashed my teeth and made the sincerest apologies. No one would hire me to teach again. It's not about the right to be forgotten. It's the right to return to a status quo. So essentially, he wants to get his past removed. I can't believe this guy was put in charge of vulnerable young men. There is not any hiring committee that would offer me a job because of loss of liability. We are in liability-averse age with good reason. This guy, I can't believe. He discredits the entire academic industry by his existence.
It's not your guilt I want, it's your responsibility. I often quote that line from Arthur Miller's Incident at Dichi to my students who complain of feeling male guilt. I try to always say it with a smile to soften what would otherwise come across as unsympathetic hectoring. I'm not so old I've forgotten what it's like to be a young man overwhelmed by a troubled conscience, unsure of the degree of my own collaboration in the great crime. Shame is useless, I remind them, but in the end, guilt is only a little less so. Analysis paralysis doesn't change the world. What changes the world is accepting responsibility.
Nowhere does he take responsibility for his actions. And yet he has the gall to turn around and lecture young men on taking responsibility for the actions of men that they are not.
Taking responsibility means forgoing the temptation to explain away your bad behavior with appeals to evolutionary psychology, testosterone, or our Y chromosome. Nobody ever does that, but whatever.
How about the temptation to explain away your bad behavior by excusing it on patriarchy? Writers like this seem to exist in a universe where society is okay with women or men being assholes to women. Society is not okay with that. And when men are criminal towards women, society goes so far as to do things like arrest them, charge them with crimes, and put them in jail. Okay, so there's no culture that's excusing men acting beastly towards women. And there's no cultural excuse for it. This is the only excuse here. And ironically, patriarchy conjecture excuses both male abusers and female abusers. Because female abusers have internalized misogyny, and male abusers are so because of toxic masculinity taught to them by other men. I would say that the vastly greater number of men think what makes them a man is how well they can treat the woman in their life.
F to pay respects to Trader Joe's. Well, maybe it's just a franchise. I find that fucking funny, man. I can't wait to tell like other people about that. It's so funny to me. Trader Joe's doesn't deserve this. This is like the best thing I've heard well, since Roe v. Wade.
Oh, what was I laughing at now?
Hugo Schwyzer.